Hello, this is Scott Mason, president of Chapel Street Players, and we want to thank you for your continued donations throughout this time. Coming up next in our fall virtual season is a special treat for the holidays, a radio play version of Miracle on 34th Street. Good evening. Once again, this is Scott Mason, president of Chapel Street Players, and welcome to our November outing of our fall virtual season. I can say for sure, on behalf of the board, our volunteers, actors, actresses, stage crew, designers, box office ushers, publicists, headshot takers, we all miss being at the theater, and we are sure that you do as well. It is truly nice that some of you have chosen to watch us here on Facebook and YouTube, and we hope you continue to do so into December. And again, we have to thank you for the amazing generosity that many of you have shown before this season, during this virtual season, and hopefully beyond. Tonight, we're going to be doing something a little different. I'm not going to be changing my costume, but when I return, I'm going to be playing Fendleton the Butler in a audience participation mystery created by Mason's Made to Order Mysteries. So we'll go to black, and when I come back, we'll start the show. Good evening, everyone. My name is Fendleton, and I'm a butler, although now I'm retired. For the bulk of my career, I worked for the great Frederick Worthington III, or as I call him, Mr. W. I was in Mr. W's employ for a very long time, and he was considered an amateur sleuth of sorts. During my tenure, he got better and better and better. But there's evenings like this where I think back to some of his cases when I was in his employ. I remember one fondly. It was maybe the second or third case that he had that I like to call the mysterious death of Madame Marcardi. Of course, I know who did it, and I will tell you, swear to God, that in this mystery, the butler, yours truly, did not do it. So cross me out as a suspect. It all began in a stormy fall night. The murder, that is. In the late 80s, or perhaps it was the early 90s, the main point about the time was that not everyone was carrying around a cell phone, which of course may play into the mystery. Throughout the next 5 nights, tonight through Saturday night, at the same time, 7:30, I'll be showing you scenes and evidence from that fateful night. You can ask questions in the comment section, and I may or may not answer them. For example, you could ask me, who did it? And I'm not going to tell you. You're going to have to wait until Saturday. Speaking of Saturday, we're going to show all the episodes back to back in the afternoon, leading up to the finale at 7:30 Saturday night. But great news, just in case you missed one this week, or perhaps you want to watch it again, we're going to leave them live we're going to leave them on Facebook and YouTube, that is. Will not be live. I won't be back to answer comments. So if you want to have questions answered, you've got to do it while I'm live. So there's the temptation to join us each night at 7:30. So in this particular instance, as I said, it was in the late 80s or early 90s. Mr. W was having one of his famous dinner parties where he would invite very eccentric and eclectic people that from his travels or just people he wanted to get to meet. On this particular night, he had 5 guests. And then a special guest was what he called his entertainment. And that was an apparent psychic named Madame Marcardi. Well, she didn't turn out to be much of entertainment. Instead, she turned out to be a corpse. So let's jump right in and look at the scene of the crime. It was approximately 10 o'clock when Mr. W. and his good friend, the Admiral, looked at the scene. I was the first to discover the body when I was sent to the room in which she was resting upstairs to check on her. Let's see how it goes.
So, my friend, you're the medical expert. What is your opinion?
Was a medical expert for 10 years.
Come on, it's like riding a bike.
I haven't done that in decades either. But it appears she was stabbed in the back with the knife you see on the floor.
Indeed.
The wound is deep. Maybe a strong arm. From an angle, I would say the killer is right-handed. From the point of entry, I suspect it punctured her lung, and it was a rather agonizing demise. I believe she was at the table, reading her tarot cards, stabbed from behind, and then fell to the floor. Wait a moment. She's not wearing her black cloak.
I think you'll be entering the Tour de France very soon. Your expertise has not waned.
France, please. And you, while I examined the body, I couldn't help but notice that you were up to your usual sleuthing skills.
Oh, yes. And there is quite a lot to take in. One, the madam's broken watch, smashed as she hit the floor, I suspect, registering the time of death at 8:05 p.m. Or was it? Two, the letter W written in blood on a tarot card and blood on her right index finger. Three, a photo of a mother and an infant that appears to have been slipped under the door. An inscription on the back reads, "To my dearest Gina, I am so sorry. Love your mother, Regina."
Didn't the actress, Alexis, had a similar-sized photo to Madame Marcardi when she was doing her readings?
Yes, but there is one more thing I discovered. 4, a used pipe cleaner on the floor near the body.
A pipe cleaner?
Yes, my friend. But as I am fond of quoting from one of my favorite mystery movies, there are too many clues in this room. I think the most vital information might be in the madam's rather large bag that she kept closely to her all evening. Let's examine the contents.
So, I hope you enjoyed that little scene. Let's take a look at some of the evidence that Mr. W was referring to. This was the madam's tarot cards set up on the table. The tarot card of death figured prominently on the table. Perhaps she knew that death was coming. This was her smashed watch, registering 8:05 p.m. This was the tarot card with the letter W written in blood. This was the photo, a woman with a child, perhaps hers, perhaps not. And the used pipe cleaner. Now, besides the things in the room, my boss said that it was important to look at the contents of the madam's bag. So let's have a look. First, there was a box addressed to the madam from a Thomas T. Bivens. Next, there was a strange plastic gray cap that was in the bag, along with that giant envelope, also from Thomas Bivens to the madam. Private and confidential. There was a pen, and you'll figure out whose it is in another episode. There was also a comb. It wasn't the madam's. It was a personal item given to the madam, which you will see in another episode. So let's continue with the Admiral and my boss as they check out the scene of the crime.
Do you think the contents of the bag reveal anything?
Not clearly, but it is what is not in the bag that intrigues me most. And this W on the tarot card.
Well, perhaps the W was actually an M, and the card shifted when Madame Marcardi fell.
M as in what? Marcardi? And she killed herself when it's physically impossible? No. It was a clumsy attempt to frame the murder on yours truly.
As if you had anything to do with killing her. Well, then again, she was not very entertaining for your night's entertainment.
The framing attempt was pointless, as I never left the dining room tonight except to attend to Jenny's accident, and Madame Marcardi was seen after that. I never left again until Fendleton alerted us to come up here.
Of course.
And the pipe cleaner? You're the only one here who smokes a pipe.
I was never in this room. Perhaps some stranger broke into the house to steal something, and Regina caught him, or her, in the act.
Regina?
Oh, I mean, Madame Marcardi.
Relax, my dear friend. No, it definitely was not an intruder.
Well, what makes you so certain?
The murder weapon, the knife. I recognized it at once. It's one half of an ornate carving set located in the serving pantry just off the dining room. So you see.
No, I don't see. Frankly, I'm more concerned about the pipe cleaner.
The odds of an intruder carrying an antique ornate carving knife with them to commit a robbery are as slim as you actually being responsible for coming into this room, smoking a pipe, killing the madam, and discarding a pipe cleaner on the floor. No, my friend, this knife proves that the murderer is here in this house right now and is one of us.
Dun, 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 dun. So let's take a look at that knife and the set that my boss thinks it belongs to. This was the knife. As you see, it does have a rather ornate handle. I'll do a close-up. And the boss was referring to a set that indeed was in the pantry that night, just off the dining room. And if you look, it looks like the knife does belong on the other end of that holder, along that you see with the fork. So, did someone take the knife from the pantry or not? I wanted to start things off juicy with the scene of the crime, but let's go back a few hours. The first guest to arrive was indeed the Admiral. The first murder that my boss solved was the unfortunate death of his beloved wife, and he had met the Admiral in Europe, Admiral Gerald Nesbeth, who helped him solve that crime. So they became fast friends. The Admiral was the first to arrive early that afternoon on the fateful night. He wanted to play some games of chess with my boss. Let's have a look.
You want to move, Frederick? Oh, impressive. Impressive.
Checkmate.
What?
My queen.
Yes, but I could.
No, my bishop.
Victory number 4. I say, how do you do it?
I anticipate your every move. I approach chess like I approach solving a mystery. I stay one step ahead of my opponent, my old friend.
Do you need to say old? I believe good friend would suffice, or dear friend, or how about just friend?
Oh, after all we've been through.
So, tell me, who else is invited to tonight's dinner party? Your gatherings are never dull.
There will be 6 of us, the usual array of fascinating people whom I've wanted to meet but never had the pleasure until tonight. Though, of course, you are no stranger, nor is my special entertainment for tonight.
And what is it to be? Stripper? Drag queen?
Uh-huh.
Mime?
No, a one Madame Marcardi, an apparent psychic.
Madame Renee Marcardi?
Yes, well, you know her?
Never met. Only heard of her. But you don't believe in all that hogwash, do you?
No, not at all, but I have my own agenda for inviting her.
Oh, do I sense romance in the air?
Hardly. For now, I am content to be the busy widower. But how about you?
Oh, I am content to be the single man once jilted at the altar. So, what is your interest in this woman?
She may only cleverly pretend to be a psychic, but I believe her to be a shrewd businesswoman of sorts.
Sounds interesting.
As you have learned after 4 games of chess, my only trusted friend, it is foolish to try to one-up me.
Well, whatever's in store, I'm just happy to have another one of Nori's delicious 4-course meals.
Alas, Eleanor is not the cook tonight. One of her mentees, a Miss Belfour, is the substitute chef.
What? Well, I shall take my leave then.
Yeah, sadly, Miss Belfour called this morning and said Eleanor was ill.
Pray it wasn't food poisoning.
No, thank God it wasn't food poisoning. But yes, indeed, Nori, short for Eleanor, was not the cook for that fateful night's dinner. Instead, it was, as my boss mentioned, her mentee, Genevieve Belfour. Mr. W asked me to retrieve her from the kitchen so that she could be introduced to the Admiral. Let's have a look.
You wanted to see me, Mr. Worthington? Is something wrong?
No, not at all. I wanted you to meet one of my guests.
Admiral Gerald Nesbitt.
Genevieve Belfour. But just call me Jenny. Everyone does.
Well, Jenny, I look forward to your dinner. But tell me, how is dear Nori doing?
Nori?
Your exceptionally skilled mentor. I trusted she taught you well.
No worries, Jenny. The good Admiral here is very fond of Eleanor's cooking.
Oh, yes, of course. Eleanor, Nori, yes. I'm sure she'll be fine. I should get back to the kitchen. It was a pleasure meeting you, Admiral. I hope I don't disappoint.
Please, call me Gerald. I'm sure dinner will be delightful. Are you a professional chef?
This isn't an interview.
What? I can't get to know the staff?
I am a full-time chef when I can get the work, but in between jobs, I enjoy the outdoors, fresh air outside of the kitchen, little skiing, hiking, and the like.
Capital.
Again, Jenny, should you need any assistance, please just ask Fendleton.
Very good, sir.
She's years younger than Nori. Do you think the dinner will be any good?
For once, try not to be so cynical.
Yes, the Admiral was always quite cynical. So, tomorrow night, you're going to meet the rest of the suspects. I've checked comments, and so far, no one has any questions. I guess you're all super sleuths. We're going to have one more look at the evidence that was presented tonight, the pictures. During that time, feel free to ask a question for clarification, and if I can answer the question without revealing the answer to the case, I certainly will answer you honestly. Let's have a look at the evidence. I should have mentioned earlier that the odd gray cap was found inside the box that was addressed to Madame Marcardi. Remember, pay attention to whose pen that is that was in the Madame's bag. The same thing goes for this comb. And the knife. Is my boss correct? Did it actually belong to the serving set that was in the pantry that night? Well, I see some comments came in, so let's take a look. Can you describe the markings on the handle of the knife? I could describe them at length, but they're irrelevant to the mystery. It won't help you solve the mystery. I will tell you the carvings on the knife handle did match the carvings on the fork handle. So was it part of that set or not? I heard Jenny Belfour is only 32. Isn't that true? Age is just a number, and most actors and actresses at Chapel Street prefer to have their number unlisted. Was the rest of the film canister found? That's a very good question. Was the rest of the film canister found? I guess that you are a super sleuth and figured out that the gray cap may indeed belong to a film canister. I'll tell you this, it was not found in the box or the Madame's bag. So more to come in episodes to follow about that. No clue yet, but looking forward to tomorrow's episode. Well, thank you, Angela. And what a great lead-in to the end of the show. Sorry, I have to switch a button. Ground control to Major Domo. So yes, tomorrow night, you will meet the rest of the dinner guests and the famous, but not for much longer, Madame Marcardi. So we look forward to joining you again tomorrow night, same CSP time, same CSP social media on Facebook and YouTube. But don't go away. Hang out a minute or two longer. I would like to thank the cast, and you'll see their names in the credits. And then it's followed by a very, very, very special guest with an announcement from the Chapel Street Players. Good night, everyone, and happy sleuthing.
Isn't it great to see the Chapel Street Players back in action? We're excited to be keeping the arts alive, albeit virtually, with this latest theatrical performance. I just love seeing good theater, even if, for now, it is in the comfort and safety of my living room. I'm Dr. Renee G. O'Leary, and I've been involved with Chapel Street Players for, well, let's just say a long time. There's always a first for everything, and 2020 is no exception. Like you, I would love to be back in our little playhouse on Chapel Street, and we look forward to when we can reopen. As always, we couldn't provide live theater on stage or screen without the generous support of the community, or in this case, viewers like you. Our virtual entertainment this fall is being brought to you free. However, we greatly appreciate any contributions you are able to make to help keep Chapel Street Players and the arts alive during these turbulent times. As Chapel Street Players, this is an all-volunteer, nonprofit organization. Donations are tax-deductible in accordance with state and federal laws. Finally, on behalf of Chapel Street's board, volunteers, and patrons, I thank you and wish you all the very best.